The story begins in a dark and mysterious place with several talismans floating everywhere on the roof. Little by little, someone approaches this sinister place while the yellow papers continue to fall slowly. In front of a huge green portal, a group of adventurers discuss if they should wait longer or enter immediately. Then their leader, a gentleman with a white beard, says that an hour has passed and that no one else will come, so they can leave with their golden object that looks like a key. The old man prepares to activate the passage to the dungeon. At that moment, the portal opens completely and the group enters running excited, screaming that they are going to be very rich. The group leader reflects that he has spent all his savings on this key, and that no loss can be allowed. However, as soon as he enters, his expression changes to one of pure terror when he sees what is on the other side. The man is alone in a dark hallway and wonders where all his companions have gone. Suddenly, a young man appears and greets him, relieved to finally find someone he knows inside. The man then asks him where the others are, and the boy replies that they have probably separated. The young man suggests that they explore the area together, but a creature with tentacles is already watching them from the shadows. As the old man walks cautiously through the dungeon, a terrifying roar resounds on the stone walls. From the darkness emerges a gigantic monster with huge teeth and bright red eyes. The purple creature looks at the adventurer and tells him that his food has arrived, leaving the poor man completely terrified. Desperate, the man falls back, screaming for help while the monster jumps on him to devour him. But at that moment, he looks up and realizes that something is falling at high speed towards the creature. Suddenly, a girl with a sword appears out of nowhere and strikes the monster's shoulder with a devastating blow. With the force of impact, a part of the creature's body falls apart and falls to the ground. The purple part of the monster lies on the ground with a surprised expression before disappearing. The girl lands elegantly and the group leader thanks him for saving her life. The protagonist emerges from the upper part of the creature's body and says that there is no need to thank him. He speaks with disdain, saying that he was only a low-level monster, so it was easy to defeat. To reward him, the teacher offers him a class dagger as a trophy for his help. However, the young man rejects the offer and says that the object belongs to him, since it was he who found it. The group leader insists that, despite being a Class C weapon, it is a very valuable weapon. He explains that, among the teams of the same level, weapons are the most expensive and rare. At that moment, the rest of the group of adventurers appears and asks who the two strangers are. One of them points to the protagonist and asks him to pay to use the key to enter the tower. With a sarcastic smile, the protagonist says that they should consider themselves fortunate that he has entered, or they would all be dead. With an expression of pure rage, one of the adventurers prepares to attack the protagonist. He calls the boy shameless and asks him who he thinks he is to talk to them like that. When he sees the Alboroto, the group leader runs towards them and yells at them to stop fighting immediately. One of his companions then asks him, confused, if he knows that boy. The man screams that he knows nothing, and that the boy saved him from a powerful monster and gave him a Class C object. One of the adventurers doubts the story and asks how a simple class weapon can be so special. But suddenly a horde of green monsters appear in the hall, leaving everyone desperate and screaming for help. The whole group panics and starts running, while the leader screams that they run as fast as possible. The green creatures advance with malicious smiles and ready-made improvised weapons to massacre everyone. Unlike the others, the protagonist simply spits on the ground with a boring expression. Then he calmly faces the monsters and calls them a group of hooligans with nothing better to do. The young man then invokes several golden paper dolls that begin to float. With a smile of confidence, he bites his finger to use his blood and activate his technique. A drop of water hits one of the paper dolls, making a red eye magically appear in it. And so the puppets transform into an army of armed skeletons that advance to fight against the monsters. The leader of the monsters gives the order to his squires to advance and finish off the army of skeletons. Then a blind white light to the monsters. Then a huge explosion occurs that chases the horde of creatures. The leader of the adventurers protects himself with his arm. Once the dust settles, he is completely moved by the result of the battle. The protagonist remains calm while the cores of the monsters float around him. The group of adventurers is amazed by so much power, and one of them realizes that the cores float in the air. The young man then says that he will only take the cores and that they can share the equipment. With a simple gesture, he uses his energy to collect all the cores. The energy of the monsters condenses in his hand, forming a small pink shiny crystal. Then he turns to his partner and asks her to come closer and open her mouth. The girl obeys and eats the crystal, leaving the other adventurers in shock. One of the men explains that she is a corpse demon, a type that arises when a human wakes up. The group leader reflects on how the protagonist is creating a demon of such high quality. Now he understands why the young man only wanted the cores. The young man then asks the young man to feed his partner. Suddenly, a strong shake shakes the dungeon. They wonder if it is another monster, but the leader reassures them by saying that it must be the seal of the tower breaking. Then, the protagonist explains that the previous fight woke up the boss of the dungeon, and that they must defeat him. With that, all the adventurers bow down and beg the young man to save them from a terrible fate. The young man then tells his partner that they are going to take a look at what is happening later. In a dark room, several mummies are trapped in cobwebs. Then the leader of the place appears, a powerful female creature, and asks who has dared to wake her up from her dream, and turns into a monster spider to attack the protagonist. The creature then launches a powerful burst of green energy, but the young man does not emit and prepares a counterattack. He launches a small paper doll that flies at high speed to intercept the monster's attack. The doll wraps the creature in an intense golden light, completely capturing it in its power. With a scream, the protagonist activates his technique and orders the paper seal to break. A golden light explosion takes place in the place, disintegrating the creature's power with immense force. After the attack, the monster is defeated and its body is enveloped by a purifying blue energy. The protagonist and his partner observe how the purple energy of the defeated creature slowly dissipates in the air. Seeing that everything was over, the adventurers celebrated with relief, saying that the seal of the tower had broken. However, one of them realizes that the tower is not disappearing, and that a strange aura still persists in the air. The young man reappears and explains that the reason why the tower did not disappear is because he warned them not to enter. He approaches a wall and puts his hand on the dark stone bricks to show something. With a smile, the boy reveals that in reality there is another hidden tower within that dungeon. Then he pushes the wall hard to break the illusion and reveal the secret passage. An explosion of energy takes place and the wall becomes gnarly. The adventurers are surprised and one of them asks, "Who the hell knows that there is a tower inside another tower?" Then, the protagonist turns around and reveals that he was responsible for releasing all the monsters in the world. The surrounding landscape becomes gnarly like the crystal, and he confirms that he has transformed the world into what it is today. He warns them not to follow him if they are afraid of dying. The adventurers argue and decide that it is safer to follow the boy than to stay behind and die. The leader thinks that with such a strong guy nearby, the possibilities of getting rare objects are 10 times greater. Full of greed and courage, everyone screams excited and run to follow the protagonist. The adventurers begin to descend into a dark abyss, and one of them complains that he is afraid of heights. Meanwhile, the protagonist and his partner quietly observe the scene, and he seems quite bored by his slowness. Then he lights a cigarette and reflects on how people die for money and birds for food. The young man thinks that humans are difficult to persuade, and even after so many years they still look the same. Remember that 20 years ago, countless demonic towers appeared out of nowhere in the human world. The world has been destined to be in complete chaos and endless. And so one of these towers appeared in a remote and forgotten town where no one knew about its existence. Then, someone approaches and finds 2 children hidden near a sign that warns them not to enter. A thug asks the protagonist if he dares to touch the tower, since he is so proud of his lineage. The boy protects his friend while the thugs say that, if he touches the tower, they will no longer bother her. With a determined look, the young man thinks that he cannot allow the thugs to belittle him, and that he will reach the tower. Then he ignores the warnings and walks towards the tower. While the other boys laugh at his courage, the protagonist extends his hand and touches the red structure of the tower, which reacts with a ray of light. He looks up, surprised, and sees that the door to the tower has opened on its own right in front of him. From the inside of the tower emerges a monstrous creature with a terrifying smile and a giant eye. We see a red energy that explodes and releases innumerable tormented souls in a whirlpool of pure chaos. At that moment, the protagonist seems paralyzed while a torrent of terrifying faces enters his body. With that, people start running desperately, shouting that the seal has broken and that the monsters have escaped. In the midst of confusion, A woman refuses to flee because she wants to go in the direction in which our hero is heading. But a man stops her and tells her to leave because the boy is already older and can take care of himself. Suddenly, a giant monster appears with multiple eyes and looks at the humans as if they were his next meal. The creature then moves towards them. So we return to the protagonist in a state of alert, who thinks that if they did not listen to his warning, they would now have to pray for themselves. Then his group enters a strange and spacious place where everything seems to be made of broken mirrors. The young man seriously warns that you should not be optimistic, because in this world, the greater the reward, the greater the risk. Then, he says that a fog is rising and that everyone must remain together because he is not responsible for any death. As they walk through the mirror area, one of the adventurers complains that he cannot move forward. Shortly after, a group member feels exhausted, saying that he has not seen any monster, and that he needs to rest a bit. Another member of the team approaches a companion and desperately asks him for some water. When he sees all this, someone raises their hand. Suddenly, one of the men screams that his friend is still in front of him, and that no one has seen anything. Faced with this, the old man of the group tries to calm the spirits and tells them not to be afraid because it must be an illusion. But when he turns around, he realizes that his companions are paralyzed and wonder what the hell is going on. Then, the protagonist appears angry for not having noticed the presence of the enemy before. The scene expands, showing the dispersed group and voices with laughter that resonate in the mysterious place full of mirrors. Our hero then looks into one of the mirrors and says that human eyes are different because they have found their hiding place. At that moment, a beautiful woman appears with blue skin, wondering if they have been lucky or unlucky to find her. The young man confronts her directly and asks her what she has done with the rest of the people who were with them. The creature smiles malignantly and reveals that she devoured them because her expression of fear satisfied her. The white-bearded gentleman is completely shocked and terrified when he realizes that all the others have died. The villain then uses an artifact called the yin-yang mirror and shoots a ray of energy into a giant crystal. Inside the crystal, one of the men meets a girl with blue hair and recognizes her as his lost daughter a long time ago. The young woman cries black tears and asks if her father no longer remembers her and what happened in the past. The old man also cries and apologizes, saying that he was wrong, and that at that moment he had no other option. Meanwhile, the protagonist sees in the mirrors the reflection of the woman who was looking for him at the beginning of all the confusion. The woman calls him, telling him that he has prepared a delicious meal, and asks him if he would like to join them for dinner. The protagonist is surprised to see his mother, and she apologizes for not being able to protect him before. At that moment, the villain approaches him and whispers to him that he has finally found him, and that they will be together forever. But the sweet illusion fades away and the people he loves turn into terrifying creatures. The old man is also trapped in a vision and asks his daughter for forgiveness, who now has tentacles coming out of his body. Meanwhile, the other companion screams terrified when he sees a rat with wings on his shoulder and panics. Our hero then takes his hand to his head, feeling the weight of the mental attack as the spirits surround him. The enemy explains that obsession is the source of evil, and that she uses bodies to free herself and feed herself. With a purple mark on her face, the boy recovers from his trance and warns with a determined look that she will not escape. Then he asks what he will do against his ghostly companion. She advances with a powerful blue energy. The blue woman is surprised and completely frightened when she recognizes the creature as a corpse demon. The companion of the young hero unleashes all her power in a devastating attack of lightning and spiritual energy. The protagonist smiles and says that this tactic works well against her, because the demon is not aware of himself. Then he challenges the villain to show him all his other tricks. Trapped in a fragment of a mirror, the enemy praises him, but remembers that he is in his tower and cannot escape. The creature laughs, saying that it is useless because they will be trapped forever, and will serve as food for her. With a cold look, the villain asks the protagonist he saw in the mirrors that tormented him. She continues with the provocation, asking him if he saw his friends die or if he imagines how it would be to kill them. Then the young man lights a cigarette and says that he wanted to be fair, but that the enemy cannot keep his mouth closed. With a furious look, she declares that, as she likes the mirrors so much, she will break them all. The blue woman laughs and challenges her to summon her creature to try to destroy all the mirrors in place. Our boy responds that he is going to break everything and prepares to attack. He concentrates his energy on his hand and invokes a powerful technique called the deep flying dragon. With that, A gigantic wave of blue and white energy explodes from him like a furious and overwhelming dragon. The attack expands with incredible force and begins to destroy all the mirrors in its path. At that moment, the protagonist orders his partner, Julie Joanne, to use a phantom transformation talisman. The ghost girl then flies forward, trapped in one of the fragments of the mirror. The villain yells angry and asks what he is trying to do. The hero declares angry that he will end her, while his partner launches a powerful purple attack. The blow hits the white and a huge explosion of purple and white energy consumes everything around him. When the dust settles, the protagonist's partner appears, holding the villain. While our boy comments that it makes no sense for her to flee, because there is no way to escape. The young man smiles and says that he has spent a very expensive talisman to get her out of there, and hopes that he releases good objects. The blue woman admits that she underestimated him because she used the heat of the thunder to melt her crystals. But she recovers and warns him that she has already told him that they are inside her tower, and that they cannot win. Then she jumps on him, saying that with her strength she should become her pet. Suddenly, the scene changes and the villain is in a strange red place, asking what it is. At that moment, he looks at a giant eye with a strange symbol on the pupil and seems to recognize the danger. A new female figure appears with red hair and a seductive smile that greets him in a sinister way. The demon in red is gigantic and says that perhaps the treasure she seeks is in that place. Without wasting time, the villain launches a quick attack, but the red creature stops the attack and says that an attack of that level does not hurt him. Then he catches her with a tentacle and says that her aroma is delicious. While the other fights for her life, the shadow of the demon acquires a terrifying form and begins to devour the blue woman mercilessly. With a smile of satisfaction, he licks his lips and says that the food was really delicious. Then he turns to the protagonist, who is standing watching everything, and asks what it is. The demon asks him how he dares to eat in his territory, and how he has managed to get out of his tower. Then the creature greets the triad and formally presents itself as Hako, the black flower. Hako says that his luck is not good and that he only has 3 days left of life, which leaves the boy in a state of shock. The young man looks at the strange structure that is above and asks what that means of only 3 days. He challenges her sarcastically, asking if she is the reason why he cannot level up. The villain explains that his vital force is linked to her, and that the worms he implanted are growing. He says that his body is too weak and that, if he dies, she will not be able to absorb his given power. The protagonist gets angry when he realizes that they treat him as cattle destined for slaughter in the future. The demon laughs at his anger and tells him that, at his current level, forcing a transfer of power will only overwhelm him. Then he proposes that, to receive his power, he must first reach the level and help her recover. The boy is surprised by the proposal, and asks if the recovery has something to do with the ghost Joan. The creature explains to him that nothing in the world is absolute, and that he will tell him what to do when it is strong enough. He warns him that the greater the hope, the greater the price to pay, and he asks if he is willing to offer himself as a volunteer. Jack Howe offers an amulet to Joan as a thank you for waking her up and helping her level up. He holds the strange object, and the villain explains that the amulet contains a part of his power to help him. The red demon advises him then to use the amulet that he has given only when he is in danger. With an indifferent look, he says goodbye to him and tells him not to die. Suddenly, Trevin returns to hear the voices of his companions calling him to wake him up. Then, he asks him if he has fainted, and the old man explains that everyone was scared and thought he was possessed. With this, the man shows the young man the crystal nuclei that fell from the monster they defeated. The protagonist takes the crystals from the old man's hand while his ghost partner observes everything from one side. The old man complains that his team now only has 2 people, and that they will not be able to pay the taxes. At that moment, our hero lights a cigarette and, without a doubt, rejects the invitation to join his group. Joe apologizes, saying that it was presumptuous to ask someone so strong to join a weight team. But Trevin interrupts him and tells him that if his problem is the lack of money, he could have a solution. Then, he proposes that the 2 of them join his team, but warns them not to wait for him to always save them. The older man cries out of gratitude, but the protagonist kicks him out and tells him to stop being so dramatic. The boy says that if they want money, they have to go to the Barrow monster to get missions in the tower. The other companion then asks why a corpse demon would eat a crystal nucleus like that. The old man begins to explain that, since the monster suppression tower appeared, countless people have entered it. He continues with the narration, showing how the tower attracted all kinds of people, from patriotic soldiers to thugs and those who sought fame and fortune. Thanks to this, many managed to obtain valuable resources and unimaginable riches, and some even awakened spiritual powers and became hunters. However, the vast majority had no idea of the dangers lurking inside, and of the terrifying monsters they would have to face. Due to this, countless common people died and, over time, their bodies turned into monsters of the same suppression tower. The most skilled in the Tao techniques saw how their minds were devoured, turning into corpses, demons, and immortal puppets from that place. The boy in the group is surprised to understand the truth, but the old man calms him down, telling him that the ghost will not go crazy if he is fed with crystals. However, the companion explains that it is not easy to create a corpse demon, since crystal nuclei are sold in the black market at absurd prices. Meanwhile, the protagonist faces the amulet that the demon gave him, and his ghostly companion appears in an adorable version of his side. Then he puts the object in front of his companion, saying that his transformation talisman was about to fall. Shortly after, the group arrives at a huge and imposing building that is the headquarters of the Monster Suppression Office, and they are impressed. The chubby companion is surprised by the place that manages guilds, missions, and hunters, and never imagined that one day he would be there. At one point, they look at a screen that shows an urgent rescue mission of students in a B-level school. In another place, a woman comments about the Sanyu team, whose captain supposedly surpassed a level tower on his own. She continues with the gossip, talking about the nocturnal demon sisters who are part of the team and are very famous. The protagonist and his team then arrive at the entrance and find the two legendary hunters leaving the enclosure. The protagonist's wife observes the scene in silence, with a coin in her mouth and a serious expression on her face. With that, she approaches the showman and tells the receptionist who wants to accept the student's mission. The green-haired assistant then asks the young man to indicate his full name and his combat power level. At that moment, the young man responds directly that his name is Trubin, and that he is currently a C-rank hunter. The girl is completely surprised and warns him that the mission is B-rank and asks him if he is sure of his decision. But our hero does not mutate and tells him not to worry, because life and death depend on fate. The receptionist then confirms the mission, informs Au that the tower is under control and wishes him good luck. As he moves away, the receptionist thinks he is very brave, but that it is a shame that he wants to risk his life in that way. Suddenly, a voice calls him, recognizing him as the ace of the Sanyu talent hunting team. A blonde man accompanied by a woman mocked him, saying that after all this time, his team is still level C. The man continues to laugh and say that he had forgotten that the partner of our hero is no longer there. Before that, Trubin gets gloomy and furious and asks the man to repeat what he just said. Without thinking twice, the boy jumps on the provocateur, shouting that he is looking for death. At that moment, a soldier appears suddenly armed and orders the two to stop fighting immediately. Shortly after, several guards surround the group and warn them that it is forbidden to fight in the area, and order them to drop their weapons. One of the protagonist's companions is desperate to see the situation and screams at his boss in panic. But the blonde rival only smiles and tells Trubin to lower his amulet, because they have things to solve. Our hero simply ignores him and calls him garbage, which makes the other explode with rage due to the insult. Full of hatred, the antagonist shouts at Trubin to wait because he will regret this bitterly. With that, he goes to the reception and announces that his team, the White Tiger Squad, will also accept the mission. The blonde man then looks at the receptionist and thinks with a malicious smile that the protagonist will surely die now. But suddenly the partner of our hero appears in the air and kicks him in the face. Trubin provokes him, saying that he seems dissatisfied and suggests that they be on the mission to solve things. With a cold and serious look, the boy looks at his rival and asks him threateningly if he has heard what has been said. We see a flashback of the protagonist holding the amulet that the devil gave him, and she says that the object has its power. The red-haired creature then advises him to use the talisman only when he is in a dangerous situation. The rival, lying on the floor, is surprised to recognize the girl, while Trubin wonders how he has survived. At that moment, he realizes the terrible truth and understands that the former hunter has become a demon or corpse. Pressed by panic, the man thinks he should warn his boss because a creature like her is worth a lot of money in the black market. The blonde man then shouts at the guards, who do nothing, but they explain to him that they can only intervene in disputes between hunters. In the distance, a girl asks her partner in pink hair if that is the man she always talks about. The young man with cat ears comments that the boy looks like a great criminal, while the other looks at him closely. The woman in pink hair smiles and confirms that her assessment is correct, since it is indeed a criminal. Shortly after, the two approach the receptionist and the group leader asks what Trubin wanted there. The assistant explains then that our hero went there to accept the rescue mission at the girls' school. The hunter is surprised and asks how it is possible that he has already reached rank C, and why they have allowed him to accept a mission B. The girl behind the counter says that she cannot stop a hunter, and tries to calm her down by telling him that the other team was also there. But the woman in pink hair is not convinced and decides that she has to go to the place to see the first-hand situation. Next, the scene shows us the school where the rescue mission will soon take place. From above, we can see that a barrier has been raised around the school, and that the situation seems to be well controlled. When they arrive at the place, the protagonist's companions ask if they can enter later to collect some materials. Our hero then turns to his team and tells them indifferently that they can do whatever they want. With that, the boy and his ghost partner walk towards the entrance of the dungeon. The camera focuses on the young man's foot as he takes his first step towards the dangerous challenge that awaits him. Once inside the school, he realizes that there is a red energy that escapes the building and says that they must hurry. The protagonist, with a cigarette in his mouth, says that it is time to get some level B course for his partner. Then he meets a blonde girl in a school uniform who seems to be in a hurry in the middle of some strange entanglement. The boy looks at the girl in the Japanese uniform and comments that the level B students are really different. The young blonde girl seems embarrassed and vulnerable, surrounded by a strange red organic matter. Then he recognizes the school uniform and wonders if the girl is a student who has been corrupted by the tower. Suddenly, the student turns into a terrifying monster, and launches himself to attack our hero with all his strength. The creature quickly hits him with its sharp claws in a fast and furious attack. He realizes that she is very fast and that the tower is more interesting than he initially imagined. With a cigarette in his mouth, the young man prepares to use a bright talisman to discover his true identity. Then he activates a powerful ice storm talisman that unleashes a rain of frozen crystals. The creature shows an expression of pain and surprise when being hit hard by the boy's ice attack. The hero confirms his suspicions when he sees that the girl was really demonized, as he had imagined before. He questions the process of demonization and why such a powerful monster was transformed into a student. When he sees that the creature is not surrendering, he orders his ghost partner Diane to take care of the situation. With that, the ghost girl advances with a purple aura and strikes a powerful and precise blow to the enemy. A wave of energy hits the protagonist, and he realizes that the demonization of the enemy has a time limit. At the top of a building, a purple-haired girl observes the explosion and the battle that is taking place below. With a smile, he tells the smoking wolf to become his slave and obey his orders. At that moment, the mysterious girl opens a small bottle that seems to contain something very special. A strange creature similar to a terrifying mosquito emerges from the inside of the container. Then he orders the insect monster to fly and forcefully bite our hero, but the demonized student reappears. And the protagonist says that he has finally decided to reappear. With a smile, he advances into combat and says that he prefers the current appearance of his monstrous opponent. The boy then adds that he expects her to leave a crystal nupia for his partner, Diane. With this, he concentrates his energy and launches a powerful flame attack that completely envelopes the enemy. The blow generates a gigantic explosion of fire and smoke that consumes all his path with great force. Once the dust settles, it reappears holding a red crystal and celebrates his good luck in obtaining the object. But without him realizing it, the little fly monster rests on his neck. The girl on the roof smiles and comments that, fortunately, it has fallen right into her hands as planned. Then, the protagonist and his partner look up and see the insect monster flying towards them. The mysterious girl says that her work has not been bad and that, with her help, she will be able to enter the tower without danger. Then he approaches the protagonist and congratulates him, saying that, in addition to being good, he is also handsome. With a seductive smile, the girl offers herself to help domesticate her pet, and invites her to follow her. The boy's partner eats the crystal she has given him and says it is delicious, which makes the young hero smile. The protagonist thinks she is skillful and decides to follow her plan to see what happens next. The group then follows the mysterious girl, In another place, the rival of our hero and his team enter the tower and find the place very strange and dangerous. The leader of the group, OV, says that the place is perfect to set up an ambush and eliminate Triubin without anyone finding out. The blonde man then warns him about Triubin's strength and how she defeated him in one blow. The team leader calls him useless and explains that the corpse demons become stronger when absorbing crystals. He continues to say that the value of a demon like her is high, and that Triubin is just a level demon with bad luck. ABO affirms that if the protagonist had not been expelled from his sect, he would not be there today. Returning to our hero, he and his team arrive at a place full of hunters and the woman says, "There are many demons there," with a sinister look. The girl says that human greed knows no limits. Then she releases a swarm of poisonous butterflies and tells everyone to eat well, because the food is served. The poisonous butterflies attack the monsters and devour them alive. The mysterious woman says that becoming food for her insects is not a waste for them. With a smile of satisfaction, the protagonist thinks that the situation is great, and that this will save some talismans. The group then observes the swarm of butterflies that flutter around the area, while the dust of the battle finally settles. Then they meet several hanging giant butterflies and the girl says she has never seen the demons do that before. Then she asks the boy to go check the butterflies, but he answers mockingly that he does not know how to fly. The girl is surprised that he can talk, and the protagonist mocks her by saying that her poison has not worked. Then she whispers to her partner well and tells him to do what he always does, leaving the other confused. The young hero continues with the provocation and tells him that his cheap tricks no longer affect him. The girl with the horn then grabs him and begs him to forgive her, begging him to save the trapped students. But the protagonist pushes her and tells him that he is not interested in rescuing his people at all. With that, the girl approaches him seductively and promises to reward him when she finishes the job, standing in front of the butterflies. The protagonist comments that they must prepare, because if there are students inside, it is better that they surrender soon. The girl is desperate, wondering how they have ended there, since the tower should be in the basement of the school. The woman is sure that everyone escaped, but at that moment, one of the butterflies in front of her begins to move. A terrifying red-haired humanoid creature named Kanala emerges from inside. The protagonist asks if that is the student he was looking for, but the girl replies that it is not him. With a serious look, the boy concentrates his energy and prepares to use one of his powerful talismans. Next, he invokes a fire technique that creates a gigantic and imposing cigarette in the air. The Kanala creature then throws a green energy sphere at high speed towards our hero. The energy ball advances against the protagonist's attack. However, the protagonist's attack did not cause any damage to the monster. The protagonist complains that the fire talisman has not worked and asks for help to fight. In a distant area, a man observes the battle and asks his leader if they should intervene. The leader, called Frank, says no because in his country there is a saying that tells them that they should observe how tigers fight. Frank continues to explain that Kanala is very strong, and that they could not defeat her alone. His teammate then asks him if they have any chance of winning, since their captain is not present. The leader responds with a smile of confidence that they only have to inform Kanala about the treasure that is in the tower. While they are distracted, some fibers of the hoods approach them stealthily. Suddenly, our hero screams a warning of danger. The purple-haired girl is taken by surprise, and both are wrapped and locked inside a hood. Inside, the two begin to argue, and he asks him not to touch his dragon, while she complains about how tight she is. The girl is then in an uncomfortable position and complains that her secret weapon bothers her. The girl is caught in the cables. He asks her to use her insects to recover a talisman from her pocket and break the hood. With that, the girl takes the amulet that the devil gave her, and the boy says it will hurt, but what does he have to do? Outside, the hunter Frank and his team observe a shiny hood and decide that it is time to leave. With a smile on her face, she regrets the situation and says it is a shame because the girl was very pretty. But suddenly an intense light explodes from the inside of the hood, surprising everyone with her power. The protagonist manages to get out of the hood, taking the girl, and complains that it has hurt her a lot, but the girl continues to be caught and screams to free her, while our hero simply moves away. Suddenly, the demon Hakho appears, and the boy realizes that the area around Kanala is a nest of dragons. Then he wonders how she manages to absorb things if the monsters are not in her space. The creature explains that he can take his power to absorb it, but that he will leave something to him. The boy thinks that Kanala is very strong and wonders if he can transfer part of his power to the amulet. Hakko says that he can only withstand his power once a day, and asks him why he has not used the amulet that she gave him. The protagonist says that the amulet has great power, but that it can withstand the side effects. From behind the hunters, he calls them. With a cigarette in his mouth, the young hero says that he will undoubtedly take care of them, but not personally. With a smile of confidence, he says that he does not need to get his hands dirty to deal with people like them. Frank laughs and calls him charlatan, but our hero advises him to look behind him before saying nonsense. Frank's partner panics and warns his boss that something terrible is happening behind them. Frank turns around. The hunter's leader is completely surprised and speechless. Suddenly, a giant and terrifying monster appears and grabs one of the hunters with his huge hand. The protagonist is limited to watching the scene and tells his partner that he has done a great job. The ghost girl looks at him with a satisfied expression and an adorable look as the situation develops. Frank panics and realizes that our hero has used the giant monster to catch them there. He understands that the first objective of the monster should be the demon or corpse that is next to the protagonist. The boy's partner explains that he gave him a talisman of hiding to attract the monster and deceive him. The giant creature devours the hunter and the leader. Frank shouts at his men who attack with everything they have. The protagonist says that he does not have time to waste with them because he has his own matters to attend to. Suddenly the creature, Kanala, emerges in its final form, completely transformed and much more powerful. Our hero then asks his partner Bianca to step back a little, because the situation is about to get serious. With the demon's amulet in hand, he says with a smile that he is going to try a new combat technique. Then he invokes the power of the black flower Hakko. While the amulet shines with an intense red energy, Hakko tells him to prepare, and some chains emerge from the amulet, ready for the imminent attack. The protagonist then launches a wave of powerful white flames towards Kanala. A gigantic ball of fire emerges and charges against the insect monster with overwhelming force. The burning creature strikes the enemy with a devastating blow with its flaming fist and completely destroys it. The attack incinerates everything at its pace, leaving only a great cloud of smoke and fire behind it. With a smile of satisfaction, the boy says that the result was as expected. The surviving hunters panic when they see that he has defeated Kanala with only 2 blows. One of the men desperately tries to get in touch with his captain, but the giant monster prevents him from escaping. Hakko then says that the smell is good and that it will absorb the creature. While the protagonist wonders if he can deny himself, the demon threatens him and tells him that he is hungry. The protagonist holds the body of the creature absorbed while it screams in pain and bleeds his face. A dark energy flows towards his body and Hakko says that power is entering him as a reward. With a seductive smile, she hugs him and tells him that she is very generous with him, and that he will not stay with everything for himself. The boy's partner then helps the girl with horns to stand up, and she thanks him shyly for the help. At that moment, the girl finds a student ID card on the floor and asks who it could be. The camera focuses on the identification, revealing the photo and the name of a student named Cook, from Class 8. The girl in purple hair is surprised and wonders if the students are really trapped in the hoods. Look at the hoods that surround her and wonder if there is still any possibility of rescuing the girls. But our hero says it is useless because once the Kanala's eggs are injected, there is no salvation. She explains that, from the moment the eggs were injected, the fate of the students was already sealed. The girl with horns begins to cry desperately, refusing to believe that there is nothing more that can be done. Suddenly, the floor begins to shake violently. The protagonist asks Hakko what is happening, but she says she does not know for sure either. Our boy looks at the creature that is attacking the extras until it falls due to the tremor. The floor continues to tremble and crackle, while the situation becomes increasingly dangerous and unstable. The protagonist falls to the ground due to the tremor, and the 2 girls scream the name of Trubin, worried about what may happen to him. He says he's fine and asks his partner to protect the other girl while he solves the situation. Hakko explains then that the aura of the monster indicates that the center of the tower is at the bottom, but she warns him that, with his current power, it will be impossible to defeat the creature, and he panics. In another place, the rival team meets a giant plant with human faces attached to it. The companions of our hero are captured and one of them pretends to say that today they have met Trubin. Leader Abu says they will be the sacrifice to awaken the final boss of the Tower of Suppression. The two men play for their lives, but the team leader simply ignores them and prepares for the ritual. With a malicious smile, the blonde man approaches the old man and tells him that he will be the first to be sacrificed. With this, he attacks the old man and his partner in an act of pure cruelty and betrayal. The leader, Abu, then takes a strange flashlight and says that the life and soul of the demon will not escape. He declares that everything there will be used by him. While a dark energy begins to envelop the old man, a giant skull appears and the man screams for the creature to come out and devour the soul of the sacrificed. Returning to the protagonist, he uses his fire amulet again, and summons the powerful Lord of the Flames. Leader Abu celebrates Trubin's arrival, because he will be able to use his power to defeat the enemy. The fire tiger charges forward and attacks the enemy with an overwhelming and intense explosion of flames. The rival team is trapped in the middle of the explosion and everyone screams in pain as they are reached by the flames. The enemy leader says that Trubin has retired, and that he is much stronger than he initially thought. The protagonist gets up with the help of his friend and complains of exhaustion, due to the effects of Hako. Abu threatens him, telling him that if he surrenders to his ghost partner, he will let him go in peace. But the boy just smiles and says that, although he is weak, he can still handle them all. But before the protagonist can use his talisman, the rival attacks first, which makes the protagonist and the fat boy flee. With a malicious smile, the rival team leader licks his lips and asks them if they thought they were going to get away with theirs. Then he uses his flashlight and summons an army of ghostly arms that advance to attack. Our hero is surprised to see that the enemy has such strange power. The leader says that he has obtained the power of a god, and that the protagonist is nothing but garbage. With a smile of confidence, the boy responds that it is only a cheap trick and that he has seen better things. The villain is surprised that he has discovered it, and admits that he has inherited the power of a monster. He says that in this world only strength matters, and that the winners remain while the losers disappear. The enemy leader grabs the protagonist and asks him where his ghost partner is, but he does not answer. At that moment, the blonde man sees the two girls hidden in a hole in the wall and warns his boss. Our hero then shouts the name of his partner when he sees that the two have been discovered by the enemies. Then the ghost warns that the rags are about to hatch. Suddenly, several red humanoid monsters begin to emerge from the rags and surround them. The two prepare to fight when a strange sound draws their attention and they look up. The creatures begin to adore one of the rags that opens and reveals a new and powerful enemy. From the inside of the rag emerges Queen Kanala in her final form. The protagonist's partner takes a step forward to protect the other girl. However, the powerful monster realizes the movement of the ghost and counterattacks. The ghost is completely trapped and wrapped in tentacles. The blonde girl screams her name desperately. The queen then looks at the young woman with a threatening look and asks what she is going to do next. Then the monster begins to writhe something strange, and when it opens its mouth, its strange tongue is revealed. The blonde girl looks at the queen and tells her that she is responsible for the transformation of the students. With a furious look, she decides to play her winning card. The queen realizes the danger, but it is too late. With her eyes injected with blood, the blonde friend swears to avenge the innocent students and unleashes a powerful aura. Then she invokes a creature and orders it to destroy the queen mercilessly. The creature charges forward and attacks the queen with overwhelming force, cutting the monster into thousands of pieces. The protagonist's partner recovers from her wounds, while several tentacles fall around her. The blonde girl says that she has finally avenged herself after being forced to use her power. But suddenly she collapses, completely exhausted after using her final technique. The ghost grabs her in her arms. The companion of our hero then calls his teacher with a worried look. The enemy leader tells his boss that the ghost is alone, and that they must look for her. The face of the giant plant smiles malignantly and says that if you want to blame someone, blame your own weakness. The shadow creature asks what they want from Trubin and Bane. The enemy leader says that, obviously, he wants her to become the key to open the way for them. The creature attacks the hunter leader with his giant hand and crushes him against the ground with the slightest mercy. The blonde man is surprised to see his defeated and betrayed boss after releasing the monster. The monster then turns towards the blonde man, who runs desperately asking for help to escape. but the creature attacks him with its tentacles and easily defeats him with a quick and brutal attack. The protagonist faces the monster and his friend suggests that they flee, but he says they cannot leave. With the amulet in hand, the boy says they cannot win, but that the only option is to risk everything. Next, he summons an army of 5 fire golems to fight the monster in an epic battle. Hakko appears and says that 3 teachers are on their way, and hopes to be able to win time until they arrive. The giant monster faces the fire golems and destroys them in one blow, showing his power. The protagonist is surprised and his friend asks him what the meaning of that combat tactic is. The monster then turns towards them, and the boy realizes that the creature is affecting the class promotion rate. The friend of our hero panics when he sees that they cannot escape the fury of the monster. Suddenly, a woman appears with pink hair and grabs the creature's arm with incredible strength. The protagonist's friend recognizes her as one of the leaders of the Sunju talent search team. With this, they wrap them in bandages and the girl with cat ears tells them to sit down and enjoy the show. Next, he lands on the ground. The protagonist and his friend are tied together with bandages, and he asks the girl to untie them because they cannot breathe. She explains that the clues are recovering, since the team leader came to help him because she did not trust him. The boy is happy that a pretty girl is worried about him, but she only calls him a criminal. The girl continues to explain that the monster Miraja feeds on envy to evolve and become stronger. Our hero is surprised to understand the truth behind the transformation of the school principal. The group leader faces the principal, transformed into a monster, and tells him that he is pathetic and deserves to die. She criticizes him, saying that with that appearance he is not worthy of being a teacher and must be punished. The monster gets angry at his words and jumps on her to attack her. The hunter then uses a Tai Chi technique and counterattacks the monster's punch with a quick move. He gets a powerful blow that makes the monster fly with great force. The creature screams in pain when being hit. Hakko appears and praises the boy, saying that he has found a good assistant to fight with. The protagonist then remembers that she said that 3 teachers were coming and asks where the others are. The demon replies that they are up there. A huge purple monster stares at a group of hunters, with his tongue hanging while his protective shield weakens. The men look terrified. One asks if this is the end, while another screams desperately calling out their leader. The creature roars and throws a powerful energy beam willing to finish them off once and for all. But suddenly the hunters are filled with relief and cry with joy when they realize that they have been saved. A woman dressed as a nun, Jessica, appears and scolds them, calling them useless cowards. With a huge guadana in her hand, she puts herself in front of the rescued men and orders them to stay where they are and wait for her. She takes a firm step forward, her boots resonating against the rocky ground as she prepares to move, with a determined gaze. She charges forward, declaring that the sacred object below is only hers. Her scythe hits the hard skin of the monster, and she notices her impressive resistance to her attack. Meanwhile, the pink-haired leader kicks another monster, saying that he will have to hit him again. This creature has a strange circular mouth with a bright red nucleus, and seems to be screaming something about the students. The warrior throws a powerful energy beam from her foot, pointing directly to the monster's weak point. The girl with cat ears anxiously calls out her leader, Siwon. Siwon is suddenly suspended by a bright red chain, but continues to shoot energy rays at the creature she has underneath. Her partner asks her if she is okay, and the warrior calmly assures her that she is okay. The girl stares at a mark on Siwon's arm, but the leader only warns her to be careful. Even wrapped in bandages, the protagonist and his friend observe the fight. Asking why the leader is still dodging, the protagonist observes the battle carefully and realizes that the powerful warrior seems to have a weak point. After all, her friend is confused and wonders how it is possible that a high-level teacher like her has a weakness. A small diagram explains that Siwon cultivates a technique that gives her immense physical and strength defense. The protagonist explains that, although the leader has great physical resistance, she is very weak against magic, which makes her an easy target for attacks at a distance. Her friend is confused, wondering how a high-level hunter could have such a defect, but the young man simply says it's complicated. When an explosion shakes the area, the companion asks if they should wait, but the protagonist claims that they have another teacher on their side. The warrior nun Jessica grasps her sitara with force, which refers to the soul of the evil, surrounded by a vibrant purple aura. She tells the creature to find peace in the edge of her sword. She faces the monster and realizes that the aura of the sacred object is not within him, and that the creature is much stronger than she thought. Jessica then calls the pink-haired warrior and tells her that they must unite. The other leader is surprised and asks who the unknown is and how she knows her name. The nun explains that she knows the famous talent that rose to rank A, presenting herself as a stranger soldier. The three women prepare and Jessica yells at them to attack the giant monster together. The giant creature is immobilized by shadow figures that murmur about the need to strengthen the school's forces. Surrounded by dark spirits, the monster yells at the teachers who listen to the students. The three warriors observe the horde of shadow figures, and one of them wonders if they are the souls of the teachers. Jessica warns the others to stay away from the evil souls. The protagonist's friend is surprised and a rank is suppressed by a rank B, but the young man says that everything is possible in the tower. His partner asks how the boss escaped, while the protagonist frees himself from the bandages. He observes the battle and realizes that it would be necessary for the three teachers to work together. Hako suddenly appears and tells him that if he leaves, the others will be in danger, but she knows how to help. He says that Kanala has disappeared and offers to help him with a look. The protagonist thinks of the monster on the second floor that resides in his mind. Hako tells him that from now on he will not help him, but that he can free a monster every time he rises of level. The protagonist pushes against a huge rock wall, screaming desperately the name of his partner, Bien. From a crack in the top, his demon partner appears, having heard his screams from the other side. He shakes his arms with frenzy, telling him to throw all Kanala's corpses so that he can absorb them. But his partner is limited to looking at him with an inexpressive expression, saying that she cannot hear him. She seems completely confused by her strange gestures with multiple arms, trying to understand what she wants from her. She has a moment of understanding, and relates her frenetic movements with the head of a monster. The young man sighs relieved, happy that his message has finally reached his partner despite the distance. A moment later, the head of a completely different monster crashes against the opening. Surprising, he wonders why she threw that instead of asking if her hand signals were misinterpreted in any way. Hako appears and says that the noise prevented him from hearing, but that the power of the monster is strong enough to use it. With a determined smile, the protagonist prepares to absorb the power of the monster's decapitated head. After 15 long years, a huge red and square entity finally awakens, having finally reached rank B. A girl with pink hair and shiny eyes appears before her laughing victoriously because he has finally escaped. She celebrates the wonder of the outside world, but then wonders what this strange and empty place is, deciding that it is only a minor nuisance. The mysterious girl focuses her attention on a small nearby figure. The protagonist is before her, calm, explaining that this is his space and asking him not to cause problems. Enraged, she declares that she is an ancient demon of chaos and threatens to kill the blind fool to practice. Suddenly, she grabs him by the arm, but both seem confused by the unexpected physical contact. Hako explains that the memory of the demon of chaos is not formed, it cannot hurt him. The protagonist nervously asks the demon of chaos for help, but she laughs and asks him why he should help him. Hako explains that the demon's mind is confused by being in the tower, and that this monster could be too complicated for her. Then the young man laughs, saying that a Bacillin like him is not worthy of witnessing the techniques of his teacher. The demon of chaos gets angry and declares that, with 3 teachers of rank present, they can certainly win the fight. She points at him and yells at him that she will show him exactly how to face the monsters, while he believes that she is just a girl. The giant monster roars and tells the teachers that it is time to end this. Her bright eyes look at the 3 warriors who are underneath. The creature's mouth opens up in pairs, revealing a rotating vortex of dark and destructive energy ready to be released. She transforms into a more demonic form with horns, and declares that dying in this state is an honor for them. The pink-haired leader tells her team to give everything they have, explaining that they need to contain the monster just for a second. The nun begins her chant, throwing a powerful seal of Salomon that creates a huge purple magic circle to catch the beast, while some bright purple tentacles tie the creature. She yells at the others to attack now, while she is immobilized. Her partner throws a huge flammable projection of a golden warrior. The golden ray of energy hits the monster directly in her open mouth, causing a huge explosion of light. Jessica and her partner with cat ears observe the consequences. Asking if her combined attack has been successful, the monster begins to regenerate, and the warrior realizes that the attack has worked. The beast laughs and declares that inside this tower it is completely invincible and cannot be defeated. The protagonist observes with emotion, while the chaos demon on his side is surprised. He explains that the force of the creature comes from evil, parasitic souls that give him infinite regeneration. He tells the demon to stop talking, takes out his brush, turns around and puts on his mittens, since he needs to enter his body to cast a spell. She asks him if that is what he wants to say and crouches as he has indicated. He confirms it and tells him to stay still. Suddenly, she sits on her shoulders and surrounds her neck with her legs, telling him to stay still. She explains that it does not matter who enters the body of who. As long as he holds the brush firmly, he ends up drawing a large and complex symbol on the ground with the magic brush. The protagonist and the chaos demon are placed in front of the huge calligraphy, and he says that for now it will have to be enough. Then he tells him to accompany him and recite the spell together. For great disgust of her, with smiles, they use their combined power and create a striking aura around them. Together they summon a huge entity of red fire, a powerful being known as the Unmovable King. The fiery aura of the invoked king expands, enveloping the area while he prepares to face the regenerative monster. With a look, now engrossed in the power of the king, he calls the demon the monster. The unmovable king grabs the head of the monster and hits it against the ground, ordering it to fall. The king tells the monster that due to his greed, he has a power that does not belong to him. The invoked ardent declares that he will now manifest his original form, the evil murderous spirit. While preparing his final attack, the monster screams challenging, saying that he is a god and questioning how a mere mortal dares to challenge him. The protagonist simply smiles and asks what this supposed god is. Clearly unperturbed by his threats, the unmovable king grabs the head of the creature and orders it to die, crushing it with immense force. As the monster disintegrates, a small golden and ornamented object remains in the hand of the king. The warrior nun Yasik recognizes the object with a smile, identifying it as the sacred relic. The pink-haired leader Sebin also sees the object and wonders what it is. His expression is curious. Suddenly, she is tied to the same purple chains that the nun previously used, and screams surprised. When Yasik is about to claim the relic, Sebin screams that the sacred object belongs to her. But before he can grab it, the protagonist snatches the sacred relic, declaring that he has it. A third woman in a dark suit joins the fight, kicking Yasik's guadana while the conflict over the object intensifies. The protagonist triumphantly rides, holding the relic high above the women who argue and scream frustrated. With the relic in hand, he apologizes to the women, saying that he cannot fulfill his wishes. The girl with cat ears thanks him for his help and offers to consider him a friend of his nation. He laughs, caressing the head of his demon corpse and saying that later he will give it a larger spiritual nucleus. Yasik looks at him with anger and asks if he is really going to give him the relic. With a blow from his guadana, he creates a powerful shockwave that makes debris fly everywhere. Then he points his gun at a group of students hanging in hoods and tells him to look at them. The protagonist is surprised to see that there are still survivors trapped in the hanging hoods. The pink-haired leader, Sebin, observes with a dark expression and murmurs, "Cursed yes." The nun asks him to give her the relic, threatening him with what, if he doesn't do it, the students will die. The protagonist smiles with a laugh and asks the demon of chaos if there is any other way to solve the situation. Suddenly, a wounded girl with purple hair grabs him by the sleeve and begs him to save his people. He explains that his people have been kind to her, and that he cannot stand seeing them become monsters. The young hero asks if he will come to see her later if he gives her the relic now, and she remains silent. The pink-haired leader explains that she is willing to risk everything for the relic to demonstrate her devotion for her country. The wounded girl observes with tears in her eyes as she assimilates the difficult situation. Sebin warns him that there is no time to lose and that, if he does not give her the relic, the students will die. He sighs and finally acts, throwing the sacred relic to the decided warrior. The girl in purple hair and the pink-haired warrior observe with emotions, surprised by the decision of the young man. However, before the relic reaches her, she transforms into a paper talisman and flies to the nun with a smile of confidence. The protagonist says that it is not an educated gesture to reject what is offered to her. When the nun holds the talisman, suddenly she is surrounded by bright red chains that completely catch her. Dozens of red-eyed creatures rise from the ground, and the nun horrifies herself in front of the vision. She fights against the creatures trying to defend herself, but she is quickly overwhelmed by her number. The pink-haired leader asks the young man where he learned such a powerful and strange technique. Suddenly, the nun begins to vomit a red and thick substance, clearly affected by the effects of the spell. The protagonist asks Hako about the repugnant curse. The nun grabs her head with agony and declares that she will not die in a place like this. She decides that she has no choice but to use her definitive technique, and her hand begins to shine with a golden light. In a flash of bright light, she teleports, leaving the other warriors stunned by her sudden disappearance. A great magical circle remains on the ground where she was, and the pink-haired leader asks if she has fled. The girl with cat ears comments that the nun must have used some kind of teleportation magic to escape. Hako tells the protagonist to prepare, since she has not yet finished fighting. Then he asks the demon of chaos about the talisman, and she calls him with ignorant silly arrogance. Hako tells him to focus on the matter that concerns them, while a red-hued grip approaches his throat. After the explosion, the two women are surprised to see the protagonist transformed into a small and fluffy creature. The adorable cat like a beast moans happily enjoying its new form, to everyone's surprise. Hako points out that forcing the talisman's power turned him into a beast. The girl with cat ears holds the little creature, and asks him why he has suddenly become a cat. The pink-haired leader explains that it is not a cat, but a mythical beast called Bazi. He assures them that it is probably just a temporary transformation, and that it will recover with time. Then he picks up the battle boot and says that they must organize it for the students. He gives a bag to the demon corpse, asking him to take care of the transformed protagonist. Bien takes the bag and holds his master in his new feline form, accepting the petition. Later, the two friends of the protagonist from the beginning of the arc find her asking about the survivors. The bodyguard tells him that if he cannot keep his new partner, they can help her. Back in the tower, the leader of the White Tiger Squad is defeated, murmuring the name of the protagonist. He asks for help for the last time before succumbing and dying. The scene changes to a great futuristic structure at the top of the sky identified as District 26. Under the floating city there is a marked contrast with buildings in ruins and a much poorer neighborhood. In a dark room, a single line of light appears when someone slowly opens their eyes. The demon corpse feels the aura of his master well and realizes that he is about to make another advance. He reflects on how, 10 years ago, the heavenly palace appeared, creating a strict division of classes that has done nothing but strengthen. The protagonist, still in the form of a cat, wakes up in a strange bed, wondering where he is and where his hands are. He looks down and is surprised to find his tiny legs resting on the chest of the purple-haired girl he saved. She wakes up with a smile, tells him how cute he is, lifts him up and gives him a big hug. He looks good meditating in bed, and the girl tells the cat that she wants to give him a bite. Then he offers to bathe him. He seems to enjoy it. In the bathroom, the girl enjoys a relaxing shower while the protagonist watches her from one side, like a cat. He enjoys the view and thinks to himself that the landscape is wonderful. The steam in the shower darkens most of the view, but the young man continues to have a good time. Jack Ho appears, laughing at him and warning him that his time in this way is about to end. The protagonist is suddenly surprised when a bright light surrounds him, which indicates the end of his transformation. He returns to his human form and realizes in horror that he no longer wears clothes. Trapped in panic, he looks around in the bathroom room full of steam and realizes that the situation is extremely serious. The girl asks him if he wants to bathe too, holding a soap bottle while he tries to deny it. She grabs him and he thinks he's completely lost. Then he sees the young man with her, for great shame of her. He tries to explain the situation, but his words are drowned out by the noise of the shower. The girl, however, seems to have a completely different idea of what is happening. He smiles out of the bathroom. The pink-haired leader asks him where the others have gone. His partner points to the closed door and explains that her master has become a cat. The girl with cat ears is surprised that the demon corpse can speak, and the leader corrects her on her way. Suddenly, a strange purple energy emanates from behind the door, attracting the attention of the woman. The pink-haired leader opens the door suddenly and asks to know what is happening inside. He finds the protagonist on the floor trying to explain that everything is a misunderstanding. The woman on the outside laughs at him for her unfortunate and funny situation. He gets ready to throw a bucket of water at him and asks him what he is hiding. All the women scream surprised to witness the embarrassing scene that unfolds before them. Later, the group sits down to discuss the relic, which is now identified as the brujula of desire. The pink-haired leader explains that the brujula is still incomplete, since he lacks a piece of jade. The protagonist recalls a trauma from the past, remembering how his master disappeared when trying to save him from a monster. In a flashback, he and his sister scream calling his master, while he is overwhelmed by demonic forces. The master bravely fights and tells the children to run while he contains the horde of monsters. The young man reflects on how he joined the talent search team to get stronger and find the whereabouts of his master. The pink-haired leader offers him a position on his team, suggesting that they could have information about his master. He politely rejects the offer, claiming that he does not like to be tied up, and that the team is no longer as honored as before. The leader agrees to help him and takes the bag with the school objects, saying that he will hand it over to him. He tells Bien that his rank mission will surely have a great reward, and that they should go to claim it. The girl in purple hair to whom he has saved asks him shyly if he can join his hunting group, with a hopeful look, before he can answer. She is dragged through a door that closes, disappearing in a flash of light. She arrives at the mission center and tells the receptionist that she is there to complete her mission. The receptionist is surprised to see him and asks if she has really completed the B-rank mission. Suddenly, the compass of desire she has in her hand begins to shine with an intense golden energy. A new rank mission appears on the screen and asks if it contains something she needs. With confidence, she tells the receptionist that she wants to accept the new rank mission. The woman is surprised and reminds her that the tower is closed, and that she needs a special key to enter. He lifts the bag of objects and explains that the proof she needs is inside. She is surprised that she has managed to kill a rank leader and recover her head as proof. He puts a golden key on the display, and tells him to register for the mission immediately. She warns him that the tower is not only outside the city, but is also under a mysterious curse. He accepts the mission with confidence and she wishes him a victorious return while moving away, outside. His former teammates see him and comment that he is still alive after all this time. The protagonist lights a cigarette, thinking that he needs to do some preparations before leaving. He finds himself again in the strange red space calling the demon of chaos to meet with him. He shouts his name repeatedly and his voice resounds in the strange and ferocious dimension. The demon of chaos appears and hits him in the head. Annoyed by the noise he is making, he asks him to show him a spell, explaining that Hako has told him that she is a master of enchantments. She makes him a head key, angry because he is disturbing his sleep and questioning his intentions. The scene changes to a noisy market, where the young man asks if they really had to come here. He walks down the crowded street with the demon of chaos on his shoulders, feeling a little out of place. She explains to him that the power of a talisman is limited by its rank, and that whoever uses it will influence the result. She says that he needs to find good materials, but unfortunately the market is full of useless garbage. He wonders if he should look for something that will help him defeat the monsters of rank A. The demon tells him that it is a beautiful dream, but that a rank talisman can only be activated by a rank B user. He asks if there is any exception and she smiles, saying that there could be a way. She points to a nearby store and tells him that perhaps he can buy what he needs there. He looks at a small figurine and asks him if he refers to that. The vendor recognizes the figurine as a treasure from his store, used by a famous teacher. The protagonist mocks the attempt of the man to scam him, pointing to the poor quality of the figure. He starts to move away, but the vendor panics and offers to sell it for a much lower price. Hako appears and tells him to also buy the box next door, saying that it will be useful for his demon corpse. He accepts and tells the vendor that he will buy both items. Asking him if he can get a discount, the scene changes to the outskirts of the city, and the protagonist laughs, happy with his purchases. Hako walks down a stone path with his partner, saying that with his new items, his crop bag is complete. He says that now that it is completely equipped, they can finally undertake their new mission. The purple-haired girl he saved appears from behind a tree, determined to follow him and not let him escape. He asks Bien if she has already learned to read poetry, but she simply responds that she does not know. Hidden among the trees, the nun from before declares that, whatever happens, she will get the sacred object. The protagonist examines the figurine, wondering how to use it, and if the materials are inside. The demon of chaos suddenly appears, shouting at him for trying to break the figure and calling him an idiot. She explains to him that the materials are in the Buddha's treasure, which is of the highest quality. Then she tells him to open the box and that he only uses it when his demon corpse is in serious trouble. He accepts and takes the box, ready to continue his journey with his new tools and companions. The demon of chaos is excited and tells him to take out his tools, so that they can start investigating and manufacturing talismans. He lights a cigarette, thinking that he has died many times, but that this time he must win for the people who care about him. He takes a deep breath and prepares for the dangerous mission that awaits him. He enters a dark and gloomy town and observes that the data he received did not mention that it was so sinister. He and his partner walk the deserted streets of the village of Diloa, wondering if this is the work of the tower. The protagonist notices the disturbing silence and says that he does not see anyone and does not know if the old man of the town is still there. Suddenly, he nervously points forward and says that there is a ghost. Both see a dark figure with a green aura standing in a dark alley between two buildings. A creepy man appears with white hair and a wide smile. His eyes are very open and are disturbing. He tells his partner to take care of the ghost and she accepts. She is willing to face the creepy figure, well prepared to attack. Her hands shine with purple energy as she concentrates on her goal. In a flash of purple light, she launches forward. Her movements are fast and precise as she approaches the enemy. She grabs the ghost from behind with her bright hands and holds him tight as she struggles to free herself. The protagonist is impressed, since although she has not fully recovered her memory, she can now use her cadaveric abilities. The ghost begins to transform her skin, which becomes dark, and her hands grow long and sharp claws. She realizes that it is not a ghost, but a powerful white zombie, a much more dangerous enemy. She wonders if the cause is related to the floral pattern on the creature's arm and the curse she has heard. Her partner invokes purple energy threads, preparing to use a powerful technique of soul tracking. With a final movement, she ends up tying the zombie and the protagonist laughs, admiring her beautiful work. They decide to go deeper into the tower, hoping to find the old man of the town and some answers. Bright purple butterflies flutter around a skull, and the protagonist comments on the unexpected vision. The girl in purple hair appears from before. She wonders if this place is related to a curse. In a hidden laboratory, a Buddha statue is connected to several tubes and machines. In what seems to be a strange experiment in progress, a man reads a report and wonders who else has the power to challenge the tower. Impatient, he tells his subordinate to take care of it and not bother him with trivial matters. A woman with glasses informs that the situation this time is different from previous incidents. She shows him a photo of the girl in purple hair and explains that she is a saint of the heavenly palace. The man shows himself skeptical and questions whether he really is a saint of such a powerful place. He orders his men to investigate her, saying that this is his opportunity to finally infiltrate the heavenly palace. The protagonist calls a door, announcing that it is Truby and asking for his uncle. An old man appears, surprised to see his nephew there after so long. The old man quickly invites him and his partner to enter, telling them to hurry up and come in. Once inside, the young man asks his uncle what has been happening lately in the town. The old man looks down and says that there are some things he can't talk about. The protagonist then asks for his sister Lammy, wondering how he will be after all these years. His uncle takes him in silence inside the house, making gestures for him to enter. A strange and sinister sound echoes from above, and the old man looks up with fear and asks what it is. He tells his nephew not to go out, warning him that if he does, he will bring a curse upon himself. The protagonist looks through a door hinge, asking who would be out at that time of night. And he sees a great procession with a bridesmaid who is carried in a handchair surrounded by creepy figures similar to dolls. He is surprised to recognize the bride as his lost sister a long time ago, Lammy, who is now part of this strange ritual. The procession moves through the courtyard. The figures look like dolls. The old man screams at his nephew to close the door. The procession continues and the chants become stronger as they move forward at night. The figures look like dolls turn their heads in unison. Their creepy smiles are fixed on the door as the procession passes. The old man rests against the door, exhausted and relieved that the immediate danger has passed. The protagonist stays with his partner and asks his uncle why he can no longer stand listening to his nephew. The old man looks down, embarrassed, and admits that he does not know how to explain the terrible situation. He breaks down to cry and says that he had no choice but to let Lammy take his daughter. The protagonist looks at a strange dark mark in the hand of his uncle, a sign of the curse that affects the people. The old man cries and says that this situation is completely different from any other that his nephew has ever faced. He begs the young man to leave while he can, pushing him towards the door in a desperate attempt to save him. The protagonist calmly reassures his uncle, telling him that he understands the seriousness of the situation. He promises to bring Lammy back safe and sound. His expression is firm and determined as he prepares to leave. The figures similar to dolls announce that the time has come, and that it is time to enter the nuptial chamber. The protagonist and well observed from the cup of a tree how the procession enters a dark and sinister cave. He asks Hakho if he saw his sister enter, and she confirms that yes. Hakho explains that the tower is artificial, and that the bride is a sacrifice, which means that it is in grave danger. He clarifies that the artificial towers are of two types, one to create monsters and the other to give power to corrupt individuals. He concludes that, regardless of the type of tower that is, the girl who has just entered will die without a doubt. Inside the cave, a large and grotesque creature receives the new bride. His long tongue hangs out. He tells Lammy to approach him, with a voice full of a creepy and disturbing excitement. The grotesque beast grabs her and tells her that he wants to try her, bringing her to his huge mouth full of teeth. From the shadows, the protagonist observes, preparing to intervene and save his sister. He promises not to waste his beauty, willing to consume it and absorb his power. Suddenly, a voice from above tells the creature to remove his dirty mouth from the girl. He comes out and gives him a powerful punch, making the grotesque monster fly. She continues with a quick kick. Her attack is precise and devastating, and she ends the beast. The protagonist catches his sister, relieved to have been able to save her in time. He looks at the defeated monster and realizes that it was only a puppet used to channel energy towards the tower. His sister Lammy slowly recovers his sense and asks him if it really is him. She is surprised to see him there and warns him that this place is incredibly beautiful. He tells her that it is a long story, but the important thing is that now she is safe. Lammy explains that the mark on her shoulder was put there by the people from the Demon Suppression Agency. She tells how she ran into them building a strange structure in the mountain. He heard them say that anyone who entered the village would be cursed and die if he tried to leave. He is surprised to learn of the curse and realizes why his uncle was so desperate to leave. He asks his inner demons if they know any way to eliminate the curse. Looking for any possible solution, Hakho and the Demon of Chaos admit that they have never seen a curse like this. Suddenly the purple-haired girl appears and tells him that she knows how to break the seal. She offers to help him, but only if he agrees to let her join his group of house. He asks her why she is so insistent, and she warns him to look behind him. His sister, now possessed, moves towards him with a guadana, with her eyes shining with a sinister light, but she reacts quickly, blocking the attack with her white weapon. The protagonist mocks the possessed girl. He asks her if she has returned to die, since he did not kill her last time. The nun appears with her eyes shining and tells her that she must have noticed her presence. He explains that his sister has never called him by his full name, which made him suspect the deception. The nun tells him to give her the compass. She promises that she will let him die faster and obeys him. He asks where the real girl who is passing by his sister is, and the nun points to a nearby place. She smiles with a laugh, assuring him that she has not yet killed the girl, at least for now. She puts herself next to her unconscious body, and tells him that she will leave her on the side of the road. He realizes that he has to quickly take care of the nun to save his sister and get the answers he needs. She smiles with a laugh and says that the fish has finally bitten the bait, and that her plan is working. Suddenly, a group of armed soldiers surrounds them, pointing their weapons at the protagonist and his companions. The night sky is silent. You can only hear the whisper of the leaves and you can see the dim glow of the moon. The man appears with the patch in the eye of before, asking why the Demon Suppression Agency is getting involved. The nun tells them that they are not enemies, and that she is only there to recover what is hers. The man laughs and tells her to leave before he changes his mind and decides to eliminate her. She asks why the supposedly just agency has become a group of villains. The nun laughs at them, saying that she has heard that the artifact they are looking for belongs to the Heavenly Palace. In an instant, the woman of the men's team appears behind the nun and stabs her in the chest. The protagonist and his companions are shocked to see how the nun dies in a single brutal blow. The body of the nun falls to the ground and the woman says that she was only a spy who did not need to report. The man with the patch in the eye then directs his attention to the protagonist and asks him if he is the one who defeated the great god. Then he asks the young man why he travels with the saints of the heavenly palace. The protagonist is confused. He says he does not know any saint and asks who he is talking about. A huge shiny blue wolf appears behind the man, with the burning eyes of a fierce energy. The protagonist and his companions are entangled in a powerful blue aura, unable to move under the immense pressure. He realizes that he may have to use his new talisman, but he wonders if it will be enough to defeat such a powerful enemy. The man orders his subordinate to take the saint and lock the other two companions. Suddenly, the protagonist pushes the woman with a kick, throwing her against the trees. She is surprised by her sudden burst of strength and wonders how she has been able to move. She informs her superior that the target has escaped her persecution using some kind of earth technique. Then, a hand covers her and drags her into the darkness, disappearing without leaving trace. The man asks her if that is what she calls intelligence work. Clearly disappointed by her failure, she profoundly apologizes, promising that it will not happen again in the future. He orders his men to reinforce the patrols and find the fugitives at any cost. The woman grabs her head with pain, still stunned by the unexpected and humiliating defeat. In another place, the protagonist and his companions rest in the forest, recovering from the intense encounter. His friend complains of the harsh experience and says that next time he will not let them escape so easily. He apologizes for the problems, explaining that he is not yet used to his new powers. His friend laughs, saying that it was just a coincidence that they met. Good question if the two of them are having fun with all this. And our hero explains that it is a rank mission, and that the dangers are much greater. He screams at them, saying that there is still time to step back and get out of this dangerous place. His friend apologizes, saying that he knows it is a burden and that he only came to get stronger. He admits that he is tired. He just wants to find a way to help his teacher. Even if it is a little. He remembers a time when he was a child and his teacher was still strong and full of life. The purple-haired girl mocks him and asks him what will happen if they kidnap her while he is distracted. The protagonist tells him to shut up and pay attention, warning him that he will not die without knowing why. Suddenly, his friend intervenes and says that he has discovered something strange while exploring the terrain. The protagonist turns to him, intrigued by this new information, and asks him what he has found. He explains that he has heard the cries of a baby from an abandoned house, which is very unusual. He says he was too scared to investigate more, but he is sure that he heard the crying of a baby. The protagonist is surprised to realize that this could be a clue about the strange nature of the tower. He thinks of the man with the patch in his eye and how they completely ignored the true purpose of the tower. He realizes that his sister could have been sacrificed at the same time they were dealing with the agency. He tells his companions that they must hurry and enter the tower immediately to save his sister. They arrive at the tower, a huge and dark structure with bright green windows and strange carnal tentacles. He believes that the main entrance must be somewhere in the front of the sinister building. When they approach the carnal walls of the tower, that reveal a dark and mysterious entrance, a giant green monster similar to a caterpillar with a creepy human face emerges from the darkness. He warns his companions that the trip they are expecting will be dangerous, and that they must stay close to him. He thanks his friend for his help and tells him to wait and see what he can do. The girl in purple hair smiles with a laugh and says that once he enters, he will show his true power and will make everyone submit to her. He makes a funny face, sticking out his tongue while imagining his glorious victory over his enemies. After 10 minutes, his friend asks him why there have not appeared monsters and the protagonist tells him to shut up. The girl makes fun of him for the time he became a cat and he denies that he would like to be there. His friend sees a strange dark figure on the wall, but he is not sure what it is. He tells the protagonist that the situation is very strange, pointing to the mysterious figure. The protagonist asks what it is, and the girl warns him not to touch the strange sticky substance on the wall. A single and big green eye opens from the substance, looking at them with a disturbing intensity. He lights a cigarette and comments that the monsters of this tower are undoubtedly unique and perfect for recognition. The creature with an eye shape suddenly flees and he tells his companions to follow her, believing that he will alert the others. He orders Bianca to catch the creature that flees and she immediately takes action. She moves at an incredible speed, with her purple energy creaking as she pursues the monster with an eye shape. The creature is blind. His friend says that he cannot keep up with the rhythm and the girl agrees, saying that the creature is too fast to catch her. The girl in purple hair tells her companion insect to follow the creature, and does not let her escape. The insect flies out, chasing the monster with an eye shape through the dark and sinister corridors of the tower. The group is out of breath and his friend wonders how it is possible that the object has suddenly disappeared without leaving a trace. The protagonist is confused and wonders if the creature has a skill that allows it to disappear. He touches his chest, feels a slight vibration and realizes that there is a cave hidden nearby. He confirms that there is indeed a cave, and that the creature must have escaped through it. He tells Van to go see how far the passageway reaches and sends the insect to explore ahead. The girl in purple hair is surprised when her companion insect, Trubin, returns to her. Trubin smirks and zumps, transmitting the information he collects on his exploration. The girl tells the protagonist that there are machines and monsters in the depths of the basement. Her friend suggests digging a tunnel, but the protagonist rejects the idea, since he does not want to get his hands dirty. The young hero suggests using an elevator and his friend asks if they can find one in a place like this. He walks well towards an hidden elevator and his friend comments on how smart he is becoming. The group goes down the elevator and his friend is surprised by the advanced technology. They arrive at a large futuristic laboratory and he wonders if it is another tower. His friend points to a group of small ghostly creatures that carry boxes and other objects. The girl is delighted with the nice creatures and asks what their names are, but the protagonist tells her to leave them on the ground. She looks around at the garbage piles and discarded equipment. He asks himself what is happening. A man with a laboratory bat emerges from the garbage saying that he has finally found the object or 8073. The protagonist asks him what he is doing there. His expression is cautious and suspicious. The scientist introduces himself and welcomes them to his laboratory with a broad and disturbing smile. The protagonist asks him if he is from the Demon Suppression Agency and where his sister Lammy is. The scientist introduces himself as Garen Spray, and offers to tell him everything in exchange for a small favor. The protagonist is skeptical and asks him what kind of favor a scientist could need from him. With a sinister smile, Garen asks him if he can dissect the brain of the young man to study his powers. The group prepares to fight. His expressions are gloomy as they face the mad scientist. He tells them to give up, saying that an old man like him is not a rival to his combined strength. The protagonist is alarmed and wonders if the mad scientist can read his mind. He threatens Garen and warns him that he will kill him before he has the opportunity to read his memories. Garen laughs, saying that he is not interested in his memories, and that he is more curious to know how the tower appeared. He explains that everything in the world is connected by cause and effect, even apparently random events. Since the towers appeared, scientists have been studying the monsters that exist in them, trying to understand their origins. They discovered that the DNA of the creatures is completely alien, with no connection to any form of life on Earth. Garen reveals that the towers can read the unconscious fields of humans, influencing their thoughts and emotions. The tower acts like a silkworm that feeds on human emotions to become stronger and create familiar but terrifying monsters. He discovered that when a person's faith reaches a certain limit, it can resonate with the power of the tower. He points to a large green tube, revealing a woman floating inside it, and calls it the next step in human evolution. The protagonist is horrified to see his sister, Lammy, trapped in the tube, and asks to know what Garen is doing. Garen explains that the tower is not an enemy, but the key to unlocking a new future for humanity. He declares that the young man is the key to his investigation. His expression is wild and static. The protagonist tells Bien to go save his sister, while he takes care of the mad scientist. Garen laughs, saying that his demon corpse knows how to fight. While the protagonist launches a burning attack, the man with the patch in his eye appears and blocks the attack with his own hands. With a dark expression, his partner moves Bien away from the tube of a kick and tells him to leave. The protagonist holds her, warning him to be careful, as they now face two powerful opponents. Garen introduces himself as a member of the family of the Celestial Palace. He smiles with immense emotion while preparing for battle. His friend is surprised and asks him if he knows people from the Celestial Palace, but he denies it. He explains that the Celestial Palace is a floating city, a place that controls the entire world. The woman informs Garen that she has brought the person he requested. Garen tells him to bring it so that he can share with them the results of his investigation. The protagonist is surprised to see who he has brought. His eyes open with disbelief. He shouts the name of his uncle and runs towards the old man, who is already wounded on the ground, and promises to save him and his daughter. With a voice full of determination, Garen explains that the original plan was to use the family to obtain the Stone of God. But things have changed. He says he has decided to let the old man reunite with his daughter as a reward for his cooperation. The protagonist shouts at his uncle, who picks up his daughter and runs away, trying to create a distraction. He looks at his companions with serious expression while preparing for the battle that is coming. The old man kneels before Garen's subordinate, pleading for the divine stone that they promised him. He plays with the man with a desperate voice, while asking for the precious artifact. The protagonist is confused. He asks his uncle what he is talking about and tells him to take his daughter. Garen says it's too late, and that there is now a more suitable person for the experiment. The old man screams desperately. When he realizes that he has been betrayed and will not obtain the divine stone, he screams, saying that he has paid a great price and that he deserves to receive the reward. The protagonist asks him what he is doing, and reminds him that his daughter is there waiting for him. The old man's eyes turn black and turn into a monstrous creature. Garen encourages him, telling him to let his emotions unwind and give in to his wishes. The old man is consumed by darkness. His body twists and twists until he adopts a monstrous form, emerges as a grotesque creature. His mind has gone completely while he whispers about the Stone of God. Garen points out that the experiment is 1,012 hectares failed, but he is satisfied to have advanced in his research. He orders the little ghost creatures to clean the mess. His adorable appearance contrasts with the sinister task that they must perform. The man with the patch in his eye launches a burning attack. His hands are wrapped in flames while he prepares to fight. Garen observes with a slight smile on his face as he anticipates the battle that is approaching. The protagonist realizes the horrible truth and asks if all the monsters in the tower are the villagers. The scientist affirms that not all are like the protagonist. Then he laughs, qualifying the situation as unfortunate, but the young man simply feels confused by his words. He boils with anger and calls the merciless scientist in worse things. Garen remains silent, with a completely unobtrusive expression in the face of the harsh insults of the young hero. The scientist orders them not to kill the protagonist, only to keep him alive. The man with the patch in his eye accepts the order. In response, the protagonist summons the 9 ghostly ghosts 100, unleashing a wave of spectral energy and ghostly warriors. He yells at his companions to escape immediately, warning them that this fight is too dangerous for them. They remember to leave. The man with the patch in his eye orders his subordinate to capture the saint, and she hurries to obey his order. He looks at the horde of ghosts approaching, discarding the powerful technique as nothing more than a striking and useless exhibition. With a single powerful movement, he crosses the spectral warriors, easily destroying them. Meanwhile, the subordinate chases the girl in purple hair, telling her to stop. The girl asks why they are chasing her. She insists that she is not a saint and prepares to defend herself, unleashing her powerful technique of the insect bone sect. The subordinate moves at an incredible speed, leaving a star that surprises the girl, who wonders if it is an instant movement. Before she can react completely, the subordinate knocks her down with a quick and powerful blow, sending her to the ground. The attack impacts against the ground, creating a powerful impact that sends shock waves throughout the area. The woman smiles, observing how difficult it is to capture the saint, but she asks why she does not protect her master. Bien remains defiant, protecting the girl, fallen from danger, furious because the woman is trying to kill her, and she apologizes to the scientist, telling him not to break the laboratory equipment. The protagonist looks at the man with the patch in his eye and asks if he has had enough time. The man says he has not killed him yet because it is still useful to him. He advises him to stop resisting. The protagonist challenges him, realizing that his opponent has destroyed his ghosts with pure force. A true power of that rank decides not to contain himself. He takes out his winning card to end the battle with a single decisive blow. He unleashes the axe of the incarnate dragon god, a huge wave of golden flames that bounces on his enemy, wrapped in flames. The man calls him stubborn and warns him that such a movement could affect his own allies in chaos. He wonders if the young man really believes that he can be a hero with such a simple trick. The opponent affirms that anyone who wants to be a hero must first understand the price he has to pay. He mocked himself by saying that the flame is not even hot enough to light his cigarette. And then he proceeds to inhale the burning attack. The young hero is stunned, observing with disbelief how his enemy completely swallows the powerful flame. The man promises to return the flame, slightly modified so that it does not cause him pain. As he turns around in a vortex, while the vortex of fire rushes towards him, the protagonist prepares an ice talisman to defend himself. He unties a powerful ice palm, creating a huge ice wall that collides with the flames that return. Standing in the middle of the smoke, his opponent calmly tells him not to die from the impact. Meanwhile, his friend hides scared, trying to think of a way to help him in this situation. He sees his companions fighting and realizes that the crazy scientist is now the only one left unprotected. He plans to escape the battle, rescue the Amy from the tube and then escape without anyone noticing, but immediately he discards the idea, scolding himself for thinking about abandoning his friends. He remembers the words of his teacher, who encouraged him to become who he wanted to be and live without remorse. With tears in his eyes, but with a new determination, he tightens his faithful blade, ready to act. Back in the main fight, the protagonist remains firm and asks his opponent if he wants to continue. The man observes that his spell has consumed a lot of energy. The demon of chaos appears mockingly and asks him why he has stopped fighting. She says that a fool could never use talismans, so he should surrender. He reasons that his death would not serve him at all. Because of the tone of his opponent, he intends that there must be another way to get out of this. The demon says that he does not care if he lives or dies, only that the man has used his axe. He offers him a trick to win, but he must become his puppet. He quickly rejects that offer and chooses the second option. The demon explains that this method completely depends on his own spiritual power. He explains that a talisman is not just an object, but a direct extension of the user's spiritual energy. He acts as a means, allowing his user to project his spiritual power and influence the world around him. Since a talisman is a consumable object, she says, his true potential can never be completely liberated by normal means. The demon explains that talismans are a manifestation of his spiritual power. The protagonist closes his eyes deeply, contemplating the idea of changing the properties of a talisman while using it. Flashback shows his teacher challenging him to a game in which he bets that he can guess the talisman of the boy. The boy accepts, but only if his teacher signs his exam and promises not to tell his mother his grades. He prepares a new talisman with Picardy, decided to create something that his teacher will never be able to guess correctly. After finishing, he proudly holds the talisman and challenges his teacher to guess what he has created. The teacher thinks for a moment and the young man enthusiastically remembers the bet they have just made. His teacher guesses with confidence that it is a water talisman, but the boy declares excitedly that he is wrong, reveals the paper talisman, in which the character that means water is clearly drawn, and celebrates the error of his teacher. The boy is paralyzed while his teacher laughs, laughing at him for the water talisman. He squeezes his fist, realizing that his teacher was only acting. Back to the present, the man with the patch in his eye is surprised that his opponent is still standing. The protagonist holds a talisman and asks his opponent if he likes the flavor of the fire. The protagonist declares that this time his opponent will suffer for real, knowing that this is his only opportunity to attack. Meanwhile, the subordinate is teleported and the girl in purple hair complains that he cannot see the target to which he will attack. Well prepares his technique of cadaveric needles forming purple energy projectiles sharp in his fingers. He launches his attack, but the subordinate avoids him easily, laughing that the blows are useless if they cannot connect. Frustrated, see how his opponent disappears in a strange fog. Then he realizes that there are multiple footprints on the ground and wonders why there are so many, and why they seem to surround her. The subordinate reappears. Meanwhile, the girl realizes that the footprints coincide perfectly. With this new information, she has a sudden inspiration. Diane continues with her attack, but the subordinate knows that she is only following orders. Suddenly, the girl in purple hair screams a warning, telling her to look behind her, to the right, following the instructions. Diane turns around and makes a certain blow, surprising her opponent with the successful counterattack. The woman flies back, completely disconcerted by how they have hit her so easily. Well, the flame is hoarse and reveals that it has discovered that teleportation was just an illusion. The subordinate is eagerly demanding to know how they have managed to discover their advanced technique. The girl explains that her constant movements left numerous footprints, and that the strong aroma of her perfume made her easy to track. Then she mocks the woman, asking her if she uses the same perfume as her grandmother. What infuriates her opponent, reveals that she ordered her insect to follow the trail of the aroma to its strongest point. Well, she says, if it is not a saint, then she does not need to protect her. The girl screams that it is not. The subordinate takes out two dagas, while the other girl refuses to be a saint. Back with the protagonist, the talisman in his hand shines with an intense burning power ready to be released. Unwraps all the power of the talisman, invoking a huge fire dragon that roars towards his opponent, but the man simply inhales the flames, qualifying the attack as disappointing and unimpressive. The protagonist closes his eyes, recalling the advice of the demon of chaos to use his spiritual power to feel the attack. Concentrates his mind, feeling the core of the burning energy that has just unleashed. Little by little, the attack core begins to change. The furious fire gives way to an icy blue aura. A huge water dragon made of pure ice emerges from the flames, twisting in the air towards the surprised man. The icy beast bounces on him, and his sharp glass scales tear off his clothes and skin. He looks at him with pain and fury, qualifying the unexpected elemental change as a truly evil movement. The protagonist takes a finger to his lips and says with disgust that he was afraid of the fire and had to help. The girl in purple hair asks if they are fine, and he explains that he is fine, but how well he has fainted from exhaustion. The man with the patch on his eye is injured, but alive, and he realizes that his plan to capture them has failed completely. He laughs, finding the situation fun and admitting that witnessing such an exciting battle is a rare pleasure. In another place, the scientist decides to stop looking and shake hands with his own team. He declares that the fun part is about to begin while he presses a big red button, but nothing happens, which leaves him confused and wondering why the machine does not react. He raises his eyes and is surprised to see the protagonist's friend sitting on top of the big tube. The young man panics as he holds the hero's sister, realizing that he has just been discovered. The scientist's face is filled with rage while calling the young man despicable creature. He yells furiously, praying that he will make the most painful death to the disgusting rat that has ruined the work of his life suffer. He orders his little ghostly sequins to immediately capture the fugitives. The man with the patch on his eye asks the scientist who is doing. His body is partially covered with ice. The scientist shouts that they have destroyed the work of his entire life, and orders his subordinate to put an end to the battle and capture them immediately. The protagonist praises his friend for having successfully rescued his sister and destroyed the machine, saying that now they just have to escape. His opponent reveals that he was repressing 80% of his power because he could not use spells. But now the fight is over. Floats in the air surrounded by a rotating vortex of threatening red energy that crept with immense power, with his eyes shining with a threatening red. He mocks the protagonist and asks him if he really believes he can reach that rank so easily. And flashback shows a dark tower while a voice speaks of returning to the depths. Inside, a figure soaked in blood prays between candles, and a voice invites them to dance together to the sound of a solitary music. The scene is full of corpses while the voice speaks of souls that sink into an endless pain. Invoking the great server demon, the huge three-headed demon appears in front of a wounded man, and asks him if he is the one who has invaded his domain. A younger version of the man with the patch in his eye declares that he wants to exchange his offering for the definitive power. The demonic beast informs you coldly that he is not in a position to make demands. However, he says that he is willing to make a deal and offers him a bright red orb of immense power. Back to the present, the man with the patch in his eye moves at high speed. The protagonist grabs his head with pain, asking himself why love and affection should always lead to murder and robbery. The empowered man declares that, without overwhelming force, the order is nothing more than a joke for the weak. He wonders if the true order comes from its strict rules, or the chaos that spreads throughout the world. The protagonist can only look excitedly, calling his opponent a complete madman. With a roar, the man launches an attack, a vortex of rotating energy. As the huge attack advances towards them, the protagonist yells at them to run. He asks him mockingly if he has used his last strength just to launch a defensive spell. He grabs the young man by the hair and lifts him up so that he can look at him. The man affirms that it is good that he is not dead, since the protagonist is already wounded and bleeding. The scientist remembers how the demonic market was decimated from night to morning. He wonders why the boy had to absorb the forbidden fruit of paradise and then sacrifice the whole city. A 15-year-old flashback shows an assistant informing Garen that the tree is inactive and does not show unusual signs. The young Garen observes that the specimen's body has been opened. His assistant says for now there is nothing, but a group of children have been seen in the area. Garen discards the idea and tells his assistant to focus on the investigation for the moment. Suddenly, the laboratory begins to tremble violently and Garen's assistant asks what is happening. A soldier runs in, trapped in panic, and informs that Tino has suddenly gone crazy and is releasing monsters. The soldier tells them to put on the protective equipment and evacuate immediately to evaluate the situation. Garen's assistant begs him to withdraw, saying that there are too many monsters and that he needs to ask for reinforcements. Traces of the battle and 2 pairs of footprints are discovered in the place. They lead to the nearby mountains. The scientist reveals that the boy knew the truth from the beginning. Garen then opens a box that contains a bright red artifact and shows it to the protagonist. The young man feels a strange energy emanating from the object, a dark and sinister presence. The scientist says it is time for the final act, while pushing the artifact against the boy's forehead. The artifact shines with a light that envelopes his mind, flooding it with emotions. He screams in agony as the artifact's power invades him, and his body convulses with pain. The scientist laughs maniacally, knowing that his suspicions about the boy were correct from the beginning. He reveals that Tino is inside the protagonist, and that this would be the greatest gift he could have received. The young man's body begins to mutate. His clothes tear apart and strange appendices similar to bones burst from his back. A powerful blue energy shock wave descends, which makes everyone retreat with the brute force of its transformation. The protagonist attacks quickly, hitting the scientist with his limbs and his subordinate. The man with the patch in his eye moves quickly to defend Garen, blocking attacks with sharp bones with his own body. He prepares another attack, a powerful technique called blood settling, gathering red energy in his palm. He unleashes the attack, a huge red energy vortex that he calls Nirvana. The energy spreads in all directions, a devastating explosion that shakes the entire laboratory. But when the smoke dissipates, he realizes that the time is up. His empowered form fades away as the blood spills from his eye. He tells Garen that the body is destroyed, but that they can still trace it, since the monster has left a mark. Garen agrees and tells his subordinate to clean the mess and not leave traces so that no one finds them. The scientist smiles with a laugh and says that he really does not want to let the young man go yet. Then he calls the protagonist and tells him not to die. While the red energy converges in his position, the young man is dragged towards a vortex of red energy. His body stretches and contorts by the immense power. The demon of chaos observes from a distance, wondering if the protagonist will be able to survive this test. She reveals that she has found a lost part of her consciousness. Then he asks if the protagonist is really the chosen one, a doubt that remains in his mind. He is suspended in a sea of red energy, impaled by countless sharp tentacles, and apologizes to his teacher. Then he apologizes to his mother, knowing that he must pass this test to truly become the chosen one. He asks for forgiveness while the scene changes to 15 years ago, showing a dark and windy forest at night. Jubing, 10 years old, guides Bien 9 through the forest and she asks him where they are. The young woman gets nervous and asks if they have lost each other when she sees that her friend is bleeding from her mouth. He stutters weakly and stutters, leaving small drops of blood on the ground as he struggles to move on. Suddenly, the boy spits out a large amount of blood and his partner shouts out her terrorized name. Finally, he falls to the ground and she runs to his side, begging him to wake up and not scare her. The 2 children lie defenseless at the foot of a huge tree in the depths of the dark and dangerous forest. The girl tells him not to worry and to rest, promising that while she is there, he will never abandon him. He coughs again, still bleeding from his mouth, but he fixes it to tell him that he will not abandon her either. Suddenly, a small dark creature with bright white eyes emerges from among the bushes. The shadow reveals its true form, a monstrous dead beast with a mask similar to a bone and sharp claws like knives. She grabs a thick branch and puts herself in front of her friend, screaming at the monster that moves away, with tears running down her face. She declares that she is there, and that she will not let the creature hurt her. The demonic beast throws a roaring roar and opens its enormous jaws, preparing to attack the little boy. Despite her fear, she swings the branch with all her might, hitting the creature directly in the face. The beast does not mutate at all and takes him down with a single blow with her powerful arm, throwing her through the air. Then she focuses her attention on the unconscious boy and his huge paw with claws lands right next to his head, lying wounded on the ground. The young girl gently screamed the name of her friend, unable to get up. The monster now sits on her, and she desperately begs him to wake her up and help her. Then, he leans on her and sinks his sharp teeth into her shoulder while she looks at him with surprise and pain. While the monster bites her, her eyes turn red and whisper the name of her friend for the last time. Suddenly, the young boy gets up with bone tentacles that wrap around the beast while screaming in rage and pain. The creature is trapped by the strange appendices that crept with a powerful blue energy that runs through her body. He is raised in the air with bone limbs now completely formed, hitting in all directions. He throws a primitive cry. His body twists in pain while the strange and new power consumes him completely. A blue energy explosion erupts from his body, incinerating the surrounding trees and shaking the ground. The young girl observes horrified, begging him to stop, fearing that others will discover him. With tears in her eyes, she begs him to wake up, reminding him that now they only have each other. Back to the present, the purple-haired girl whines and asks for water while others are unconscious around her. Her friend frantically asks what is happening to her when she sees that she is starting to move, surprised that she is waking up. She gets up and walks towards the enraged protagonist, and her friend warns her not to approach him. She remembers how he has always been there to protect her, no matter what kind of problem she was in. Now she becomes a powerful warrior, moves at an incredible speed, jumping between the appendices that look like bones. She thinks about how he wouldn't be in that state if it weren't for her, and a deep sense of guilt invades her. She remembers how he called her useless, always crying at the slightest provocation, and a new determination fills her. But now she declares that it is her turn to be the one who protects her. With a firm and determined expression, she lands in front of him with her powerful sheet weapon, ready to face him no matter what happens. With tears in her eyes, she promises to wake him up, ready to fight, to return him to the rope. But when she raises her weapon, suddenly she is impaled from behind by one of her limbs. With one last tear rolling down her cheek, she whispers her name and thanks her for everything she has done. She asks him to continue living for her, with her voice turned off as her life fades into her arms.